At first, she held back, thinking that she didn't fit the criteria for what a model should look like, but in the end, she went all in and became who we all know as Au Natural Mama. Let's take a look. I'm sure most people, or at least a lot of people, already know who you are, but for the ones that don't, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your backstory and kind of how you got into OnlyFans.
Okay, so I always like to say this. I'm like, my husband made me do it. I don't know if you know, but we were actually traveling. We bought a little 8-foot truck camper and decided to live life wild and live like off the grid traveling. So I kind of need something where it was like, what can I do on the road? And I've always loved taking photos, and I always wanted to be like a model. But I always found myself, I didn't fit like the criteria for what you think a model should look like. So that always kind of held me back from being myself. And then when I learned about OnlyFans, it was like, hey, I can just take pictures and, do videos and showcase what I look like and make money off that and do that on the road. So I was like, okay. And then my husband was like, you should do that. Like, it's a no-brainer. You should do that. You like doing that stuff. So I was like, okay. That was in 2021. So I started that and I kind of used it as my modeling. Like, I didn't do a lot of explicit stuff kind of on there. And then I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do that anymore. So I actually quit. And I only did it for like 4 months, I think. And then I quit for like 4 months after that too. I quit. And then it was like, okay, well, now I don't have work. Like I didn't do any work, and it was with my daughter. And it was like, hey, what can I do? So talking with my husband again, it was like, why don't you just start it up again? You know what you're doing. You've learned, right? So since March 2022, I was like, okay, if I do it, I'm doing it. I'm not giving up. I'm not stopping. And I'm just going to, go hard at it. And now it's July 2023. So I've been doing it full time since March last year.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was kind of trying to put together the timeline. I actually watched earlier today. I was looking at your YouTube channel, and I watched that video as you and your husband sitting there kind of telling the story of how you guys met, and the story was awesome. So if I remember, you worked at a bar. He was a tuna fisherman.
Yeah.
And whoever was driving his boat crashed the boat into the beach.
Yeah.
And he ends up coming in, getting a drink at the bar, and that's kind of how you guys met. So tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah. So he had to get rescued by Coast Guard off the beach, and the owner of the pub was his captain of the ship, of the boat. So he's like, my uncle runs the bar, let's go to the bar. So he came in, and I had no interest in him. I was like, nope, not, whenever. I was like pawning him off to other girls who I knew were looking to mingle and, start something up. And when he came off the boat, like, he was pretty scruffy. He's a big dude, but he was like really scruffy too. So I was 21 at the time, I think. And I was like, this guy's 30 years old. Like my older coworkers, like the waitresses, I'm like, you should go after him. And they're like, he's 20. I was like, okay. Oh, okay. And then that kind of, I don't know, knowing he was younger, I guess, kind of like made it more interesting. And then I was playing soccer. So he was interested in coming to my soccer games, which a lot of the regulars at the pub would come to as well. So he tagged along, and then I got to know him. And then it was like, I rejected him for him asking me to be his girlfriend. I rejected him when he told me he loved me. And then I ended up proposing to him.
So for anybody watching this pod, I'll have your YouTube channel linked down in the description below. They can go check out, kind of see the full story of that. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's a story, all right.
So it sounds like he was kind of supportive with OnlyFans from the beginning. Did he knew about it and told you about it, or how did it kind of all come into your awareness?
So I learned from OnlyFans from Trisha Paytas on YouTube. I don't know if you know her, but she's a big YouTube star. So I learned it from her, and it was kind of like she popularized it or something way back when. So I was like, okay, what is this? I kept seeing like OF, OF, OF. What the heck is OF? And then I'd click and it wouldn't open anything. It was like, you have to buy it. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So nothing came really about that until like the pandemic. And then my husband was like, you should do it. So he found it on TikTok, which is funny because I don't go on TikTok. But he was the one who's like, babe, these girls are doing this like OnlyFans thing on TikTok. Like, you should do it. So I was like, okay, that's what it is. Like, I put it all together and I was like, okay. So he's been really supportive. He knows it's business, which is amazing. And we have a really good, like, trusting, loyal relationship as well. We've been together for almost 10 years. So it's, we have a lot of like background history. So he's awesome. And he's going to be helping me out more with it too, as I'm expanding as well, which will be really nice.
How do you think you would have, because there's a lot of creators that are kind of in, the opposite situation, right? Where they want to do OnlyFans, but their boyfriend, husband, whatever, they don't agree with it. They're jealous, whatever the case may be. How do you think you kind of would have, responded if your husband was not supportive, didn't want you to do it, whatever? How do you think you would have gone about that?
I think maybe I wouldn't have done it if it put that much of a burden on a relationship. I probably wouldn't do it. But then it's also goes into more than that, and it goes into your relationship and why does your significant other not want you to do that? And is it because of you or is it because of them? So it's understanding your relationship, and maybe the person you're with maybe isn't even the one that you're supposed to be with as well. Like, you can test those boundaries too. And it depends if it's worth it to you. Like, is it worth it to have an OnlyFans, or is it worth it to have a relationship? So it depends. It's hard to kind of like give a real answer on that because every single relationship is totally different, right?
Did you have like, were there other family members? I mean, was your whole family supportive right away, or were there other members that were like judging you and all that?
So that's a good question. So I did it for over a year, I think, full time. No, it was before Christmas. So I must have done it for like 9 months. I didn't tell anybody. And then it was really weighing me down, like when I'd go see my family, and it's like I have to tell them because I'm pretty close with my mom and my sister and my grandparents. So I was like, I had to go and tell them. My sister was pretty open about it. My mom was actually really great about it as well. I haven't told my dad. I don't really have a super strong relationship with him, but I haven't told my father, and my grandma knows. And my husband's like mom, dad, sister, and they all know, and everyone's been pretty good. Like there hasn't been anything negative about it. But
are they kind of like you go girl kind of thing, or are they like, yeah, you do that but don't tell us about it kind of thing?
My sister is like, don't even talk about it, which is funny because her best friend does it. And so it's like we get to mingle about it. But she's like, don't talk to me about it. I don't really care. But then I'll tell her things and she's like, oh, okay. And, she kind of wants to know. My mom doesn't really understand it. Like, she's like, I just don't understand it. And I've not showed her, but like I've explained to her a lot of times, like, this is what I do and, all these things. And she's slowly starting to be like, okay. And then my grandma's just like, she's just like, oh, you're going to be the death of me.
So, obviously you have all these different things that you're kind of juggling with YouTube, being a mom, creating your content for OnlyFans, posting on Reddit, doing all the different things. Take us through kind of like an average day with you. What does your normal day look like with all that?
Okay, so I wake up at around like 5:30 in the morning. So I can have the time to just be by myself in the morning before like my husband and my daughter wakes up. So I'm promoting on Reddit during that time and like commenting on posts and responding to anything on OnlyFans. And if I need to post anything, then I'm doing that. And then it's pretty much like crazy mom morning. It's like, what's for breakfast? I want to play games, let's watch TV. So it's all those mom things that you would normally do anyways. And then as the day goes on, I have coaching calls or I'm booking coaching calls. So I'll have certain like scheduling times where I'm going to have an hour of that for the other creators. And then after that, it'll be like, Mom, let's go outside. Let's go for a walk or something like that. And then lunchtime and whatever. And during all that too, I'm kind of on my phone every once in a while, like checking messages, or if anything pops up, I'm doing that. And then when it's evening time, then that's when we all kind of wind down, and then I get in the zone there and I'm promoting again and answering messages. I'm scheduling content as well on Onlyfans in the evening for the next day and the day after. So I kind of do that. And then I'm not even lying, I'm in bed by like 8:30, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
That sounds pretty close to my schedule. I'm up early, up at 4 in the morning, 5 or so, and then in bed 8:30, 9.
I like that so much better. I sit outside now that it's summertime and I've moved near the mountains too. So I sit outside and the sun comes just above the mountain at like 6 o'clock. So I'm like on my phone posting on Reddit and the sun's coming up and I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. I love it.
Okay. So for us, the biggest drivers, so when it comes to OnlyFans promotion, the biggest drivers of traffic and fans for us is TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube. For you spend, if I understand properly, the majority of your time promoting on Reddit. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what do you think are kind of some key things that have worked for you on Reddit? And what's kind of like the hard things about Reddit? Like, what are the challenges with it, and how do you kind of like handle all that?
Okay, so Reddit, I didn't even know what it was when I started. So I had to learn, and apparently I was doing it wrong. So you have a profile on Reddit, which nobody uses when they're on Reddit. So I was like, well, it's like Facebook. I'm just going to post on my profile, and post pictures and say what I'm up to and all that stuff. So that's how I used it. And then people are like, why are you posting on your profile? Like, what is going on? But I just did that, and I learned that by doing that and just making it personal and showcasing kind of who I was, not just with like OnlyFans. A lot of people, kind of were attracted to my personality that way. And they're like, who is this person? So that's how I run Reddit. Of course, I do have the OnlyFans promoting side to it as well, but I like to showcase who I am and just treat it as a huge community of people who just follow me and like me and like are excited to see what I'm going to say or post, or if I crack a joke, because I like to be really funny and punny on there too. And people kind of know that about me. But where it's hard is tying in the OnlyFans aspect to it. And you're allowed to post basically anything you want on Reddit. But there's just like so many rules too. So it's like you can't post you can only post between like 3 times a day. You can only post every hour. So you can't say you have OnlyFans. You can't put your link in it. You can't comment and go to my profile. There's like a lot of these rules in there, and you have to really pay attention to it, or you can easily just get shadow banned or deleted out of a subreddit. And there's a lot of people on there too who are like, oh, you're just posting because you want to promote your OnlyFans too. So that's kind of the battles with doing that. But once you learn the platform and know you don't just post for your work, like you showcase your personal side a little bit on there, then it's a little bit easier to gain traction and to have a good time on there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, because I think most creators kind of do exactly what you just said, and the sole purpose that they get onto Reddit is to basically go, post and spam all these different subreddits and post their OnlyFans links, and that's like very obvious that that's the only reason that they're there, which it sounds like you kind of take a more human approach and allow people to sort of see your personality and stuff like that? Do you think that's why Reddit works for you?
Yes, honestly, I do. I do. And I take the time to get to know my followers as well. Like, I made it my goal when I started to respond to every single person's comment on there. Like, just them acknowledging my post and saying something nice or sweet or anything really. And it just took a second out of my day to just be like, thank you. And the amount of people who responded back to me, just like shocked and that I responded back to their comments, was just like, I made their year. Like, it was like, wow, this person's actually putting time and energy into me. And that was kind of more important to me than bringing them over to OnlyFans. Like, I enjoy that part a lot, and I've always enjoyed that with anything I've done. It's just kind of like, you know, help making someone's day, or being the reason maybe they smile once that day at least, or something like that. And yeah, that's just kind of.
But just for like for creators that are thinking about getting into Reddit, for you personally, is there like a handful of subreddits that you primarily focus on, or are you posting in a bunch of different subreddits, or like what's kind of the configuration or the workflow that you have?
Yeah, so I post everywhere except in OnlyFans subreddits, which is what you'd think you would do, but you don't. I post in basically everything to do with my characteristics of what I look like, or what I'm wearing, or even the characteristics of the photo itself, whether it's like inside or outside. And those are the subreddits that I post in. And some examples would be like mom ones, MILF, wife, blonde, you know, like those type of characteristics. And I also post in subreddits that are safe for work as well. So selfie and just like cute smiles and those types of things as well. So it's really trying to get people to post in subreddits where people are looking for those certain things that they like physically as an attraction, and then blending that in with your personality as well on there. Okay,
so I have one more question about Reddit, and then we can move on.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because I don't consider myself an expert in Reddit at all. So I'm curious how, you know, because there are a lot of creators that do have some pretty good results with Reddit. Mm-hmm. So when you're posting in these different subreddits, I mean, how important is it that you get upvoted to the top of these subreddits, or are you able to generate enough traffic without ever getting upvoted to the top? Or like, is that kind of the main strategy? You have to get to the top of the subreddits?
So I post in probably like between 40 and 60 subreddits twice a day, and I do not expect them to be in the top at all. Like, I know that that's just having high hopes, and as long as I'm getting a couple upvotes and people are commenting on my stuff, I know people are looking. And like, thinking about what you just said, you know, I always tell people that I even coach too, and it's like, you never know who's looking. You could get 500 people looking at your photo, and you get 500 upvotes, but none of them want to buy, right? And you could get like 2 upvotes on one photo, and that person wants to buy. That person has OnlyFans, you know, that person wants to spend money on you. So I always say that it doesn't really matter that much. You do definitely want to have some posts where you're at the top, because more people are going to see you as well, and that's going to bring more attraction to you. But the goal of Reddit is actually to gain karma, and that's how your posts kind of grow in the subreddits. And to gain karma, you have to be commenting and responding to people and posting consistently and creating that engagement. And then that ultimately helps your posts kind of stay up top, whether you even have a little bit of upvotes or a lot of upvotes.
Gotcha. Would you say there's any other, for you personally, is there any other social media platforms or channels that are working really well for you right now?
YouTube, definitely.
Okay, so would you say like Reddit is your number 1 and YouTube is 2, or YouTube is number 1? What do you think?
Yeah, Reddit is definitely number 1. I've done polls on my pages as well to see where fans come from, and it's still Reddit. YouTube is number 2 for sure.
By the way, if you want to learn the best systems and strategies to grow your social media and really level up your skills to get more fans consistently, be sure to check the link down in the description below, or you can scan the QR code on the screen here. Remember, average skills are going to give you average results, and average is not going to pay your bills in this business. It's up to you to master these skills and learn how to properly promote your account if you want to see real long-term success in the business. And now back to the podcast.
So I talked to a lot of different creators, and everyone kind of has like a different response to this, but like, if when you're out and about in real life, have you ever had situations where people have recognized you from being online, OnlyFans, anything like that, where they've approached you?
No, but I want someone to. That would be so cool. But sometimes I get weird vibes. Like, I'm like, this person keeps looking at me and I don't know why. Like, maybe they know me. Honestly, I don't think people know me, just because I'm in Canada and a lot of my viewers and fans are in the States. So I feel like there's not a lot of people, but I have met, actually I've met YouTube fans who are girls like me who live near me. And, I've met them and stuff, but it's never really anybody like out there being like, oh my God, who, you're Au Naturel Mama, or you're Anne.
Yeah. It's funny because some creators, they're completely mortified by the idea of like, one of their fans recognizing them in real life and stuff like that. And then, other creators, like I had Katie on the pod not too long ago. She's like, oh yeah, one of my fans ran up to me. It was so awesome. And we said, blah, blah. I was like,
that's so cool.
So for you, you're saying that like if that happened, you'd actually be excited about it?
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I don't know. I've never experienced it though, so I'm just saying this blindly, but I think that would be really cool, honestly. I'd be more excited to probably meet them than them meet me, honestly. It would be like the opposite.
And it seems like every creator I talk to has at least one stalker story. Maybe you're kind of, like you said, out, in Canada, maybe there's not as much of an audience where you are, but have you ever had weird, fans that have tried to stalk you, do anything weird like that?
I don't think so. I can't recall any times like that. I don't really give too much information on where I live though. Like, I don't go into specifics. But I honestly, I don't think I've ever had a stalker, knock on wood.
But okay, so you have other girls that recognize you from YouTube. What if one of your fans comes up to you and they say, on a scale from 1 to 10, how difficult is it to make a livable income from OnlyFans? What would be your response to that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd say it's about a 5 out of 10. It depends on your work ethic. It depends on if you actually want to do it, and it depends on your why you want to do it as well.
Yeah, I guess, what do you feel like is the hardest part with OnlyFans?
Definitely the social media aspect, and realizing, like, when I first started, I was like, oh, there's no explore page. There's no home page. Like, what? So it's really getting your name out there and getting people to see you, and you feel like you're putting in all this time and energy from promoting, and nobody comes to you, or maybe just like 1 or 2, fans come to you, and you feel like it's worthless, right? Like, it's not, your time, it doesn't equal the money, your effort isn't shown properly. So that's definitely very difficult. And also knowing when to take a break as well, and like just stopping and just being like, hey, just like a regular job. You have your weekends, or you have some days off somewhere in there where you're not doing anything. You go on vacation or whatever. And you're working for yourself. So it's like, if you don't work, you don't really necessarily make good money. So it's like understanding the balance and being like, okay, I have to take 2 days off. I need a break. I need to clear my mind. I need to get the creative juices flowing again. I got to get pumped up again. So knowing when to stop and then like restarting.
do you have like any any internal monologues or like mantras or like things that you tell yourself to like get yourself excited and pumped? Because I think that is like one of the biggest problems with a lot of creators is if you don't have a boss, how do you force yourself to work when you don't have to, kind of thing. So how do you get yourself to, you know, get up and do all the things that have to be done to actually make it work?
Yeah, so I'm a very competitive person. Like I've played soccer all my life competitively. So that kind of transformed into this since I don't play it anymore. So I need somewhere where I can be competitive still. So it's like I want to be better every day or every week or every month. So it's like I'm keeping track of my statistics and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, how can I do better, you know, next month or next week? So I just like, I'm like, come on, let's go, you know. I like to I'm bad at copyright Nike. I'm just like, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. So it's just like, there's days where I don't want to do anything. And I just have to just like play music, you know, and I gotta like pump myself up. Kind of like when I would play soccer game, I'd have to pump myself up. And then it's like, okay, or looking in the mirror or something like that and being like, okay, I got it, I can do this. And then just doing it and just being like, hey, nobody's talking in here anymore, I'm just gonna do it. That took a lot of work though to do that.
Yeah. And I think like for creators that are struggling with that, like learning to do what you just said is that it's easier said than done, but like learning to build a routine where you wake up, look in the mirror, pump yourself up, put on whatever your favorite music is to get yourself in the right kind of mindset to take on your day. I think that's a key ingredient that like is not talked about enough, or, you know, people don't put enough weight on that particular part of the process, because you kind of have to do that to, you know, get yourself pumped up for the day and stuff like that.
Exactly.
How do you sort of like prioritize all the different so you got YouTube, you got Reddit, you got creating content for OnlyFans, you got all these different things. Each one of them has some, you know, level of value, but how do you kind of prioritize which things you're going to work on and fit that into your schedule?
That's a good question, because I actually don't know. I don't know. I mean, my whole thing is like, I don't have a schedule. Like I do, but I don't. And I'm very, very in the moment. And that's just how it's been being a stay-at-home mom and homeschooling. Like, it's like, you can't plan anything because I'm with my daughter. Like, it's very hard, right? So I've kind of learned to adjust with that. But I know my moneymaker is OnlyFans. So I know that that's like the most important thing that I need to do, because it's for my family, and like I have to make money, of course, right? So I prioritize making content for that. But in order to do that, I have to prioritize Reddit because I have to promote. So I have to just do OnlyFans, and then I do promoting, and then as ideas come and flow in, you know, into me and stuff, it's like, oh, okay, I have to do YouTube. Like, I don't think I've ever scheduled an actual YouTube video where I'm like, Thursday, I'm making this YouTube. It's just been like, it just pops into my head, and I'm like, I have to do this right now. Like, I like that. I like being in the moment for that and expressing exactly what's going on in my head to everybody, so I can help the best that I can that way. But it's hard sometimes because it's like, oh my God, like my husband's like, you just walk around with chicken head cut off, and you're just like, oh my God, I have to do this and I have to do that. And he's like, I don't understand how you make this work. Like, I really have no idea how it, like, but you're doing it. But then he's like, imagine if you scheduled how much better you could be, maybe.
Do you think there's some sort of middle ground, or do you think if somebody like with your personality type tried to build a schedule, build systems, build, you know, workflows and things like that, do you think it would have an overall positive effect, or do you think it would just be impossible to kind of adopt that kind of thing?
I think it would work. Honestly, I do. You know, like I am how crazy I just said I was, but I also love learning new things, and I love like change too. And I I like writing things out. It does clear some stuff going on in my mind. So when I do like write something out, I'm like, hey, at this time I have to do this. So it would help, and I'm trying to get into that routine now because I just am so busy and it stresses me out at times now. So it's like, okay, I have to adapt. Like I have to figure this out. I know that it'll do good for me and it'll relieve a bunch of stress. And if I need help from other people, like my husband or anybody else, then they can kind of see, okay, you know, she needs help at 2:00 or whatever it is. And then I can just be like, you do that. So it's just learning and being open to change. And, you know, it was just been my lifestyle for so long that it's like, okay, now I need to, you know, get into the, like, kind of like more of a business woman persona. Like I got to put on the whole thing and be like, okay, this is what the business women do. I need to be like them now, you know?
Obviously there's so many creators trying to do OnlyFans, and you kind of have to reach, you know, the top 4%, 3%, 2% to start making a sort of livable amount of money. Why do you think so many creators fail at OnlyFans?
There's so many. There's so many reasons that there could be. I think that people think it's just really, really easy, right? Like it's just, of course, you're just selling these photos. It's going to be easy. Everybody wants it. But there's also how many people, I Googled it, and you got to stand out, right? That's a lot of people. Like you got to stand out, and you have to be actually wanting to do it, not just to make a quick buck. Like once you do it, once you're promoting, once you put your stuff out there, it's out there for life, essentially, right? So it's like you have to continue on with it. You can't just do it and expect that everything just comes to you.
I think, yeah, so I think it kind of all comes down to expectation versus reality, right? Especially like back in 2021 when OnlyFans was really pushing their affiliate program. So you had like all these girls on TikTok, like flashing bricks of cash, talking about how they made all this money on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't, you know, they were taking a bunch of cash from the strip club and then like saying they made it on OnlyFans, whatever. And so you had a lot of like girls that got sucked into that thinking it was so easy to make money on OnlyFans. And so the expectation doesn't really match the reality of how hard it is and how much work you have to put in to actually get to those numbers.
Yeah.
What do you kind of think will happen in the future, you know, with the future of OnlyFans? I mean, everybody always talks about the heydays during the pandemic and stuff like that, when OnlyFans was really going viral, taking off, everything like that. Do you think it's like, do you think it's too saturated now, or do you think it's still like a good business opportunity to get into, or what do you think?
I don't think it's saturated at all, honestly. I think it's if you are showcasing who you are and you're putting the time and effort into it, you're gonna get subscribers. I also Googled, and my numbers could be wrong, there's like 190 million fans. Like that's a lot of people, you know, and it's like if you're able to get a fraction of them, you know, you're able to make money off of that.
There's a lot of people that, you know, they hear about the heydays during the pandemic. And then now you hear, oh, OnlyFans is too saturated, it's too hard, there's too, you know, all this stuff. Yeah, as of right now, I think OnlyFans has about 300 million active monthly users per month. And so as more creators come to the platform, obviously that's going to bring more fans as well, which brings me to another kind of topic. With all these alternative fan sites, you know, you have Playboy, you have Slushy, you have, you know, Fansly, all these different things. What is your thought? Because I know you promote some of the alternatives. Do you think it's helping you make more money, or do you think, you know, it kind of distracts people away from OnlyFans? What do you think is kind of the main benefit of promoting some of the other alternatives?
It's kind of hard for me to answer that question because as I started doing my Slushy and my Fansly, that was because my OnlyFans got restricted and all my stuff got flagged. So I didn't think I had OnlyFans anymore. And then as that happened, my dog passed away. So it's been a lot of like trying to get back up to where it was in OnlyFans now because I lost a lot. So I actually don't know the truthful answer right now, but my OnlyFans is growing back up and I'm making money off of Slushy and Fansly. So I don't know if it's like taking away anything, but when I promote on Reddit, I only promote OnlyFans. I don't promote really Fansly or Slushy because Slushy has its own kind of home explore page and same as Fansly. So I think maybe it's not taking anything away, but I don't really have, like, I can't really like answer it honestly because I don't know because I'm working my way back up for everything that happened to me.
Gotcha. So because I watched one of your other videos that kind of breaks down what money comes from where and stuff like that, which I thought was a pretty interesting video. And so you're making some money from Slushy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But are you not? So is that all from internal traffic from the site, or is people still getting there from your Instagram or stuff like that, or is that all? Yeah, I'm genuinely curious.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of results people get with some of the alternative sites. With us personally, we've noticed that it can be hard to convert people onto some of the alternatives because they don't have their credit card linked up with the site. They don't have an account. So when they go directly to OnlyFans, they click one button to become a subscriber. But if they go to an alternative, they put in their name, they put in their email, they have to enter in their credit card information. Sometimes they might not have heard of that site before. And so you can potentially lose some traffic and some fans that way. Do you feel like there's any truth to that, or do you feel like you don't really have problems getting conversions on those sites, or what do you think?
It might. I know that when I did join Slushy, there wasn't a lot of people on there, and then kind of as like I promoted it and Alana promoted it, and the whole fiasco with OnlyFans, not just for myself too, with a bunch of people like Alana too, and it's like now Slushy has like a lot of people on there, so I think people are kind of like, oh, this is cool because it's like a TikTok. It's adult TikTok, and obviously millions of people love TikTok. So if they can get the adult version of it, then they're gonna want to go over there, of course, right? But I don't know. I've only been on Slushy for, I think this is my 3rd month because I started in the end of April, beginning of May. And then learned it for like my 1st month and then did it, for the 2nd month. And now it's kind of in the 3rd month.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm actually think a lot of the alternatives are really cool, feature wise and all the stuff they can do and, the automation and all that stuff. But it's really just comes down to the user situation where a lot of the alternatives just don't quite have the users. I'm all for it. I mean, if they can get up to OnlyFans or beat OnlyFans, hey, I'm all about it. I'll jump on one of those so fast. But yeah. But the reason I brought it up is for a creator, because a lot of creators have that question, right? When they're starting out, they're like, oh, should I get on OnlyFans? Is OnlyFans too set? Should I do, Slushy, or should I do this, that? Would you say that OnlyFans is still the best platform if somebody's brand new, right? And they're thinking about doing this whole, fan site thing? Is OnlyFans still what you would suggest people do, or would you say something else?
Yeah, I would suggest OnlyFans because almost everybody knows about it. People who are looking for that know about it. It's known, right? But as those other things come out, then they're getting popular. But I think if you start with OnlyFans and then you can grow, like kind of what I'm doing, then you can grow your other ones because it's easier to make. I think it's easier to make money on OnlyFans than the other ones because I'm kind of doing it. And when my OnlyFans page got restricted and I couldn't post on there, and I literally thought, like, I told everybody I was quitting OnlyFans and, transitioning to Fansly, actually. I was only promoting Fansly. And the ratio from fans from OnlyFans that I'd get in a day to Fansly was like this. Like, it was like nothing. And I thought it would be the same. I honestly did because I thought it was well known. But I guess for people still like the OnlyFans because it's been around for so long too. And people just know about it. And I think people trust, like they want to trust it, right? So they know it's like on the news, they know it's, you know, on Google, it's all in all these places. So the fans trust it more for their sake and knowing that it's a good website. But once you like gain your base, kind of your OnlyFans base, then like I said, you can branch off and people might follow you over there or whatever, like they'll find you on those sites.
Gotcha. And especially for like the fans that have been, I mean, there's some fans where their card doesn't work on OnlyFans or they've been kicked off the site or whatever. Yeah. And that could potentially be beneficial to have somewhere for them to go.
Yes.
But I think that's, you know, what you said is super important when you basically transition from OnlyFans to Fansly and on all of a sudden your income, your conversions dropped, even though your marketing effort was the same. So you can essentially, you know, yield higher profits by pushing your marketing efforts towards OnlyFans is what I'm hearing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's definitely accurate. And I've heard a lot of creators are like, I tried OnlyFans and I couldn't do it. And Fansly is making me like X amount of money and it's like a good amount of money. So it's kind of like OnlyFans too. You have creators who make really good money on OnlyFans as well, and then some who don't make money. But as I kind of proved it in a way, for me, it was like the people I was attracting, I guess the fans I was attracting weren't really into Fansly, or somebody else who maybe does different content than me even, or looks different than me, and maybe those people are on Fansly. So it depends who you are too and what you're doing, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So so another kind of big topic in the whole OnlyFans world where there's strong opinions on both sides is the mental health aspect of it. So obviously, you know, there's a lot of people looking at you, judging you, objectifying you. Do you feel like that has affected your mental health in any negative way, or what do you think about all that?
I would be lying if I said no, but I've worked a lot on my mental health for the past, like, how old am I? 32. For like 10 years, like since before I met my husband, actually. So I've kind of been doing that a lot. And I find that I don't need validation from anybody else other than myself. Now, the thing about that is, like, I get a lot of, which is good, I get a lot of positive comments. But because I get so many positive comments, when I do get, I mean, for anybody, and I do get that one negative comment, I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm like, that hurts. But what I have learned is what they say doesn't have anything to do with me, right? We all have preferences. We all have things that we like or are attracted to, and that's what makes us so amazing. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, that's their opinion. But when I see it on, like, say, Reddit, for instance, and somebody went out of their way to say something mean to me when they didn't even, like, it doesn't have anything to do with them, I go to their profile. That's the first thing I do. So I always check them out, and I see that they're just rude to everybody. So I kind of, I'm like, okay, you know, like, I know that it's not about me, it's about them, and they're just sadly not like a nice person. So I'm like, okay, that's okay. But for people who maybe who haven't really necessarily done, you know, a lot of mental health stuff, it can control your life. It really can. And, you know, like, where you need validation from people, or the negativity just kind of, you get sucked into it. And it's just what I talk a lot about too, is just understanding your worth as a person, as a human, as a woman, as a male. Like, just understanding that you're more than what people say you are. And that's hard. I'm getting teared up because it means so much to me. But
well, I think it's super, super important. It's a super important topic because we all have a negativity bias, right? We can get 1,000 positive comments, and then the one you get stuck on, you know, the one negative one, you just obsess over it. And I think that's crippling for a lot of creators. Do you have any sort of, like, you know, like mental hacks or, you know, things that you do to where if you feel like you're getting sucked into that negative loop, what do you do to kind of get out of that?
I kind of let it stew with me for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, I let it do its thing where it's, where I feel like it's kind of eating me up for a moment. But then I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I'm like, like bad words or whatever I have to do to just be like, F you or whatever it is I need to do. And then it's like, I'm just going to look at everybody who said nice things, or I'm just going to, say something nice to somebody because I want to do that. And then I want to feel good again. And I just kind of power through. And then next thing I know, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that person said this thing. And then I start laughing, honestly. Like I end up just laughing. I don't know. Laughter really cures a lot of things for me. And I'm like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's anybody who decides to get into this world, there's going to be a lot of trolls, a lot of haters, especially TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube. I mean, Reddit has a pretty sizable population of sad, mad little trolls too. So no matter what platform you get into, there's probably going to be at least a small percentage of people that are doing that. So it's kind of just part of the game. Yeah, I would say.
I experienced it actually. I just remember this when you were talking. I don't know if you know, but I got interviewed by Business Insider about my Reddit journey. And when that article came out, they posted it on Facebook. And I don't really use Facebook. And I didn't want to look, but I did. So I decided to look at the comments, and I kind of knew already what people were going to say and stuff, but I never really experienced that. And there was a lot of hate. There was a lot of hate. And that really did, hit me hard. And it was like a lot. But there was some awesome people in there who were like, they had my back, and they're like, you don't even know what she does, like a bunch of these things. So it was awesome to see that support too. But it went back to, why am I doing it? Like, I'm bringing food to my table. I chose to do it. I'm a grown woman. Like, this stuff is, when you're in this world, this stuff is actually very natural, and everybody does it. When you think about it, like, everybody does this, the sexy stuff in their life sometime, like that stuff. When you think about that, it's very kind of normal. And I almost had to live through that agony of like everybody saying all these mean things to me to kind of experience it and be like, okay, that didn't mess my day up. That didn't, mess my week up. But I had to feel that like pain a little bit and be like, okay. But it was kind of a cool experience in a way to see that, and to see people all standing up for me too. Like that was really cool, that people didn't even know me, but they were like, hey, like, mind your business. I was like, that's so cool.
Do you feel it's almost like exposure therapy to a degree? Because when I first started doing, well, a long time ago, I was knocking on doors selling home improvement stuff, and when you're doing door-to-door sales, you're going to get a lot of rejection. You're going to get a lot of angry people. You knock on their door at the wrong time, whatever. And this is kind of similar to a degree, because you're obviously facing a lot of trolls and haters, and in some cases. Do you feel that like there's any degree that's like empowering in a way, to where you kind of get this exposure therapy and just learn how to basically, not care about people's opinions that way?
Oh yeah, totally. I feel like you need to go through it if you haven't. You don't want to attract it, of course, because nobody wants that. But understanding that like you're more than what these people say, and they literally have nothing to do. Like, they don't even know what you're doing. And you don't even know what they're doing. Are they, where are they living? What do they do for work? Like, are they doing well in life themselves, and people just judge you. But then you get judged with anything that you do. What, you go to the grocery store, someone's probably judging you because you're buying sugar-free peanut butter when you should be buying like regular peanut butter, like no matter what you're doing, someone's kind of just like, what is she wearing, or what, so I think it's good to just be like, people have opinions, right? And it's okay. Nobody's going to agree with you. And that's with anything, and being okay with that.
what's kind of your end goal with OnlyFans? Do you see yourself kind of doing it as long as possible, or are you using it as a stepping stone to maybe get into different businesses, or like what's kind of the plan?
I don't know where I'm headed, honestly, but every day I'm kind of finding myself being more like expanded more, and more things are coming into my life that I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that, or that's a cool opportunity. So I think I want to continue to do it for as long as I can, but I really want to branch out and kind of showcase who I am, and kind of, I really like being someone who kind of help empower people and be myself, and like my fun, just YOLO kind of person. And I like doing that. It doesn't feel like work, of course, because I'm, being me when I want to do it and stuff too. So I think just still having it, because I love doing OnlyFans as well, but having it and then just like seeing what opportunities come my way. Like when I started OnlyFans, I didn't think I'd be on Alana Cole's podcast. I didn't think I'd be on your podcast. I didn't think I was going to make a YouTube, nor was I going to get interviewed by Business Insider. Like, I'm like, wow, there's just all these things that popping up that are just like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I don't have any plans to stop. I'm just growing and expanding, I guess.
Yeah, I agree that, as you go, there's just going to be more doors that open up, and then there's no way to really know or imagine what kind of doors could open in, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a pretty awesome aspect, of the whole, of everything, when it comes to YouTube, OnlyFans, all this stuff. As you go through the process, there's just so many weird things that that you never would have imagined that ends up happening.
Yeah.
Who do you kind of like, who are your favorite like influencers and stuff? Is there anybody in particular that you kind of like take inspiration from, or certain influencers, YouTubers, business coaches, whatever, that you like to follow?
When I was first getting into all this, I was more into like the body positive like women and stuff, like Ashley Graham and Nellie London, I think her name was, like on Instagram, just these women. And it was more so body confidence, because when I had my daughter, I gained 75 pounds and I was supposed to be playing competitive soccer. And so my body drastically changed, and I had to do something about it, or I couldn't play what I love to do. So it was like trying to get inspiration from these women who weren't your standard typical, like right when the movement was kind of starting, wasn't your standard typical like women you'd see. And it's like, wow, like I look like that. So those are kind of my influencers, and they've always stuck, like I've always had them in the back of my head for doing my work. And I don't really have anybody like I watch Alana Cole, who I'm kind of like friends with and stuff, and there's like other YouTubers that I watch every once in a while. But if I'm being honest, I actually try to stay off of social media. Like other than working on there, I actually don't go on there too much, like on my own free time, just because I want to have time away from my phone and my computer and be with my daughter and like go out and explore and stuff. So I've kind of like, as soon as I'm done work, I like put my phone down. I'm like, no.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think, yeah, I mean, you have to have some kind of balance to where you can kind of get some of your sanity back in the times in between.
Yeah.
And I'll have your YouTube channel linked below, but do you have any other kind of social channels that people can check out more on your stuff?
Yeah, well, my Instagram, it's not the same as my YouTube. Like my YouTube is Au Naturel Mama, and like my Instagram is, I don't even know how to pronounce it because there's a lot of letters. It's Ann BIP, but with a lot of N's and a lot of E's. And that's kind of where I mostly promote on there for everything. It's just like my Instagram and my YouTube.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll have both your YouTube and Instagram in the description. And then so kind of the last question I like to finish off with everybody is, if you could give yourself, one piece of advice to the younger version of yourself, what would that be?
I always love this question and hate it at the same time because I always cry because I'm such a crier. I cry during Disney movies, cartoons, like anything. Honestly, it's just be yourself. It's just so simple. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's really simple. But it's just be yourself and don't compare yourself to literally anybody.